Now we are recording, so now we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who's joining us today in Wednesday Live Talk organized by Race. Today I'll do something different, which is just today morning I was doing some ritual. And I would like to say that I really love the community of Race because it has a community of passionate coaches, educators, parents who are caring for a global movement to evoke multi-dimensional collaboration in the field of education. And the main thing of the community, and that's what I love as well, that they are keen and passionate to create that learning revolution to bring more heart-to-heart conversation in the classroom. And in this, let's say, education and school system, not in a specific region, but worldwide. And how we do that in Race, we do classes, whether in person, whether online, engaging the students, engaging the parents, engaging the educators to help us to provide tools to those who are really, if I can say, passionate, if I can say, really keen, and so I won't say desperate, but I would say like they have that burning desire inside them to evoke that transformation within the education system. Now, I'm saying thank you to everyone who's joining us. I'm saying also thank you and grateful to our guest, Clare Ford. I'm sorry to pronounce your name wrong, but Clare Ford. Okay, today, to join us today and to dedicate the 30 minutes of talk about really important topic, which is elevating learning through redefined education. However, there is something really important. Switched on. That's a key word. I will not say more about it because I will leave it to the guest. Now, I will leave the floor for, I'll be the audience, to be honest with you. I'll be the audience, one of you also, and I'll leave the floor to Claire to tell the audience who's she and what about switch on. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mazen. It is a pleasure and a privilege to be here, with like-minded people, as you say, who want these heart-to-heart conversations. And this is all about elevating education. I'm so excited to be an educator at this time because I feel it's a real privilege to be taking education to the next level and to be delivering this hybrid of education with coaching. So my name is Clare Ford. I'm an expert educator with over 20 years experience working with families all around the globe. And I'm also a wellbeing entrepreneur and a quantum energy healer. And what I do is I bring my combination of strategies, of education strategies, of well-being strategies, of growth mindset strategies, and I meld them to switch learners on and to get brilliant results. So during the pandemic, it became clear to me that many families were panicking. Many families were worrying with lockdown learning, how do they engage their children? And many parents were angry, Mazen. Perhaps you were, right? With the state of education that your daughter was receiving, online, offline, sometimes in school, sometimes a bubble. No, but it was mayhem. So I set up the Home Education Hub to have everything in one place where parents could find resources, specialists, they could find planning, they could have conversations with like-minded people, they can get ideas. Because as you say, this is a global pandemic, and the pandemic that our children are now facing, the mental health issues, the low self-esteem, the confusion, the frustration and the anxiety about becoming adults in this crazy world, This is the pandemic that no one is talking about. And this is something that I address in the Switched On Academy to make sure that we flip the education system on its head, and then we put emotional well-being and personal development at the forefront in order to obtain that academic success.
Lovely. You know, when you said this flipped education system, it means there's an, let's say, the way I say it, there's like a current or existing way, and there's the future and the desired, let's say, outcome. So would you please tell us about this?
Yes, so by flipping the system, what I mean is traditionally, if you imagine a success mountain, and the success is at the top of the mountain, and as parents and educators, we always are asking, what grade did your child get, right? When did they learn to walk? When did they learn to talk? When did their first tooth fall out, right? You know, are they grade 8 violin, you know? Or as a parent, we're saying, oh my goodness, my child's so successful, you know, they've got a grade 9 a year early, right? We're all focused on the top of the mountain. But my recommendation is that we flip that and we look at the pieces of the puzzle that need to be in place as the foundational skills for all of us as humanity. And those pieces of the puzzle at the bottom are the emotional well-being tools and the personal development tools. Because without the growth mindset, understanding perseverance, resilience, understanding that failure is a stepping stone to success, without understanding that we need to try something and fail at it and try again, without understanding that mastery takes time, without understanding those things, that success is actually meaningless. Let me ask you this. Why are there increasing suicide rates amongst our teenagers? Our successful, highly achieving teenagers. It's because they are lacking purpose and direction. They cannot see the point of this success. It becomes empty and meaningless if they don't feel that there's a place in life for them. And the thing that makes me so sad is that the education system is boxing our children in. It's teaching them things that are no longer relevant. Everything that you want to find out, you can find out on your phone. You don't need to go to school to learn, right? You don't need to go to school to learn. But what we do need is we need to be able to teach our young people those transferable skills like creativity, like curiosity. We need to take that box and we need to kick it into touch, and we need to think outside it, because the world that they're entering into is nothing like the world that the schools are preparing them for.
Really, your words capture my attention when you said lacking of purpose. That's really deep. Now, my question here, how parents can create that purpose in their children?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And because of this question, and because of something that happened in my family a few years ago, when my son's best friend at 15, he committed suicide and took his life. Beautiful boy at 15, artistic, creative, intuitive, empathic, a light warrior, right? He couldn't exist in this world. And it broke my heart. And I thought, I have to do something. I have to do something more. I have to step beyond. And so I created this course called Discovering Your Path for teenagers, because they need this information. You see, we as adults are going through coaching and personal development programs because we got so much baggage that we need to unpack and deal with. But what if young people had access to this information at the age of 14 or 15 or 16? How would that change the trajectory of their life, when they're making decisions that are aligned with their core values, their passions, their gifts, and their talents. When they go into interviews and they write their personal statements and they bring themselves to the table and speak passionately about why they're doing what they're doing, it means that they stand apart and above from other people who haven't thought about these issues.
Really, when you said about bringing themselves into the table, that's really profound, really deep in a sense. What is needed to make them aware of themselves?
Yeah.
You touch on that, but what else we can as a parent can do for children to bring that true self you said
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah. So I think the thing is, it's about having a team, right? It's about having a team. We can't do this on our own. And if we are coming, so let me just interrupt with a quote from Einstein. He once said, "A problem cannot be solved with the same mind that created it." So if we're only surrounding ourselves with the same family members, the same teaching members, the same friendship groups, we're never going to elevate our learners to that next level. We have to give them the opportunity to be coached and mentored by people who are bringing a different perspective to the table, by people who have walked the path and have gotten the different results. And so I think it's important that parents actually start to think about setting aside some funds for coaching for their teenagers.
You reminded me of something you said earlier about the success, about how parents seeing the success from their own perspective, that success they should reach that certain grades, but not certain achievement, not certain presence. Okay. Now, from your own point of view, what are the reasons behind parents focusing on the tip of the let's say the pyramids that now either I won't say the foundation, but I would say the core,
Yes.
the real core of really to set up or to brought up a well human being?
So I think the reasons for that are generally because most of us have been unconsciously raised by our own parents. Now, this isn't to pass blame. I truly believe that everybody does the best they can with what they have and with what they know. But we're entering a new paradigm where questions have to be asked. And just because people say, well, I did this and I got through life okay, well, have you really? Are you really fully potentialized? Are you really living the life of your dreams? Right? And if you're not, then you need to think about that. And so, why should we assume that the pathway that we took is the right pathway for our children? That's the first thing. The second thing is that although we are parents, we are still also children. And we have hidden expectations put on our shoulders by our parents and grandparents. For example, for me, I was the first person in our family to go to university. So there's an expectation now that because I know that and those doors have opened, that my children should also go to university. There's an expectation. It's almost like an unsaid contract at what your parents expect your children to achieve because of the things that they've given you, because of the sacrifices they've made for your schooling, for your successes. And so we have to unpick all of that and we have to do the conscious parenting work ourselves. And it's hard. And I've written a book called Not Another Parenting Book. I just got it for you here, not another parenting book. And the chapter in here that I've written is called Nurturing the True Essence of Your Child. And this is where the difference lies, in my mind. This is the magic, right? This is the magic. And I just will share with you, at the beginning of my chapter, I've done a quote by Annalise Nin, and she says this: "The day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom."
Ooh. You know, I don't know, you're like provoking my thinking. You know, the big challenge that parents are facing, I believe, being a parent as well, that I have to fulfill a role, a job. Fatherhood is not a job. It's something instinct. It's not like I have to correct someone for the sake of a rules or as per the book says. No, it's not like this. We are, as you said, we are a human being. We are a combination of the heart, mind, and soul. So it's not one component to focus it. That's the pressure when we are drifting as a parents to fulfill a certain requirement that being unconscious, as you said, being given to us or passed by our parents from their, the say, ancestors, community, culture, all of this. But at the end, I really feel, I won't say sorry, but I feel that concern for the children, a huge pressure. You reminded me, I attended once an parents meeting, and I've listened to one parent were arguing, and she was arguing about one, no, not half a grade, half a grade. You know what? I ask myself, what a pressure the children is, or that daughter she's having because of that half the grade.
That's right. And this is why children switch off. The pressure's too much, or they can achieve the things, but it's an empty win. It's an empty win for the high achievers, right? I was once mentoring a friend of one of my sons, and he was so jealous of her. He would say, "Mum, I can't believe it. Alina's got nine level nines again, and she hasn't even done any work, And yet her mother's ringing me up, and she said, "Can you see Alina? Can you do some coaching with her? She's really depressed." And I'm like, how can this girl be depressed when she's just nailing out her exams? But the reason she was depressed was because there was no passion, there was no motivation. And so the strange thing that I did with her when we were talking about it, I said, "I tell you what, Alina, with the next set of exams, just don't bother revising, just go in and nail them like you always do. But after the exams, then choose what you're going to study and become masterful at that," because she wants to work at NASA, right? I said, become masterful at that. Learn that biology, because we did the vision boarding exercise with her. We did that visualization. We saw her going on to new planets and collecting plant soil and stuff and analyzing this stuff, right?
Mhm.
I said, so master that because it's something you want to do, not because it's something you have to do.
One point, I really love the word master because now I'm linking to something you said at the beginning of the conversation that mastery takes time.
Yes.
My question here, the thing that I want as a child to master it, is it my own mastery or a mastering of someone else or a community or whatever?
Therein lies the question, Mazen. And that depends on your core family values. That depends on your own growth mindset as a family and as a parent. This is the thing.
Yeah.
You see, with that quote from Annalise Nin, it's about seeing the uniqueness of the child in front of you and allowing them to blossom, right? And there's another quote, just because a rose blossoms next to a lily, they're not fighting for sunlight. They're not in a beauty pageant trying to say, I'm more beautiful than the next person. They're just being their unique self. And that's beautiful enough. And that is our job as a parent and an educator, is to allow that brilliance to shine, it's to untap that potential so that there's room for growth, there's room for the becoming, and that person is held in a space that they feel is safe enough to fully express who they are.
Wow. I'm just imagining what is the impact if they being raised, being given the safe space to grow naturally, healthy, and I would like to call it organic in the way they should be brought up. What their future would be look like?
So the future will be this. I've read a book by Neil Donald Walsh, and he talks about highly evolved beings. And for me, this is the future that I'm creating, right? That I'm striving to support, to create, of highly evolved beings. So what is an HEB? A highly evolved being is somebody who self-regulates, right? They don't need rules. They don't need do this, do that. They know when they're hungry. They know when they're tired. They get enough sleep. They eat healthy food. A highly evolved being is a compassionate being, right? So they can empathize with others, right? They can act with kindness and love. And as a result, we won't have crime, right? We won't need policing. We won't have jails, and we won't need courtrooms, because you naturally wouldn't want to steal from your brother or sister. You wouldn't want to harm your brother or sister because you're harming yourself. You see in others what you have in you. And so, your reality is reflected back to you. And as a result, even young children begin to understand the potential of who they can be. And we would live in a world that is balanced, where we have respect for the environment, for Mother Nature, where we have a global economy where there's no lack. Because we need a different mindset and a different approach. That's the far end. That's the utopia. People might say I'm crazy. Sorry, not sorry. That's the utopian dream, I know. But the small thing that we can do every day right now is we can just allow the child in front of us to be seen, to be heard, and to be validated for who they are right now.
I really love the highly evolved being. I felt like compassionate being, like the way when you said that the whole universe is for everyone, everyone, everyone is contributing to that universe.
Yes. And you see, when those beings are highly potentialized and fully expressed, it becomes with ease and flow and fun. So you might be an amazing musician, and yet I don't know how to play the violin, but I love your music, and you love listening to me, I don't know, being a passionate transformational speaker on stage. Somebody else is an artist, somebody else is an electrician, not because they have to be, but because they're expressing the gifts that are innately inside them.
Expressing the gift. So do you have a tip, a small tip for parents to really tap in the gift of their children?
Yes, I do. And it's really simple. It's really simple.
Yes.
It's this, and parents won't like it.
Okay, great, excellent.
It's
Write it down. Just
write
listen.
this
Write it down.
down. It is this. Let your child be bored. Let your child be bored. I'll explain why. Right? In this fast-paced world, our children are overstimulated and they're overscheduled. No, not bold, bored. B-O-R-E-D. Bored. Let your child be
Sorry.
bored. Don't worry. It's my pronunciation.
Yes.
So our children are overstimulated and they are overscheduled. They never have an opportunity.
I'm sorry, be what?
Bored. B-O-R-E-D. Right?
B-O-R-E-D.
Yeah. Let them be bored.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're overstimulated, they're overscheduled, right? I know this as a mum. When my boys were younger, we were running around for swimming club and football club and rugby club and throwing sandwiches in the back of the car, eat this on the way to judo, right? Crazy. Get home, homework, After that, gaming, computers, right? And then lockdown happened. And then they suddenly can't go to anything anymore. And the parents are all up in arms. My child's so bored. Good. Let them be bored. Why? Because when we are left to our own devices, when we have that space, that is when our unique gifts and talents and attributes will begin to show themselves. That is when we will use our innate curiosity to say, well, what can I do? What should I do? And you can say, well, you can do anything you like. Huh? When was the last time you were told you could do anything you like, right? When was the last time you were given permission to find out anything you wanted to? You could say you could learn anything you want, right? And so this is when people of my generation as children would dress up. We'd make board games. We'd make, all sorts of different imaginary games with imaginary friends. We'd be outside just on our bicycles, climbing trees, doing whatever, right? So turn the internet off, turn the electricity off, right? Pretend you're back in the wall and let your children be bored. And then, this is the key, you observe and you say, well, when they're left to their own devices, what do they naturally gravitate towards doing? Are they painting? Are they drawing? Are they making things, right? Are they a designer? Are they a builder? Are they an artist? Are they a musician? What are they naturally gravitating towards? And that is their unique gift and their passion. And then later on in life, if they can use that as a job, then they're going to be fantastic at their job because they're doing it already as a child.
Really love that. When you say bored, said, okay, clicked. It's true. This is the same even happened with me. When I got bored during the pandemic, I started cooking. It was the first time to start cooking, which is true. You start find something, you be, okay, am I able to do it? Okay, what's needed for me to do it? You'll find your own way.
Yeah.
If I'm an elder or an old to get to be curious, it means the child can be even more curious.
Yes.
The activation will be high.
Yes. And what's beautiful about being bored is that it enables you to ask questions. So another little tip for parents before we finish, I recommend something called the window activity, right? Because during the pandemic, we couldn't go out, okay? So you can do this wherever you are in the world, even in a car park in a car. It's called the window activity. And here's what you do is you look out of the window and you talk about what you can see. Nothing exciting about that. But then you start asking curious questions like these. So I'm looking out my window now. So why are some of the clouds grey and some of the clouds white? Why is the wind moving the leaves in the tree but not the leaves in the hedge? Right? Why can I hear a dog barking but I can't hear a person walking? Start asking curious questions, because this is a journey of discovery. And remember, as a parent, you don't need to have all the answers. You know, why can I see the end of the rainbow on one side and not the other side? Go on this journey of discovery together. Start asking these questions, and you will understand that it's okay to be a lifelong learner. It's okay to not have the answers, but it's not okay to not be asking the questions.
This exercise, like activating the communication with the children or with the kids, plus let them accessing the atmosphere or even the surrounding, or even not only one sense, it's a couple of sensations are involved in such activity, which is really, as you mentioned, incorporating the emotion and spiritual growth.
Yeah. And then, you can obviously, the seasons turn and you've got the whole universe, right, to discover, right? The more you dig deep, the more questions you answer, the more questions are unanswered, right? And so this is exciting, and this makes learning meaningful, relevant, and fun. And this switches on your learner.
So since we came to the end of the conversation, and it's really interesting, engaging, and insightful, one word or more you can give the audience.
Yeah. So Einstein once said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will believe it's stupid for its whole life.
Wow.
Right? So we cannot assume that every child is the same. Everybody is unique, and it is up to us. It is our responsibility as parents, educators, and coaches to see and validate the uniqueness of the child who is in front of them, so that they can soar and become the highest, boldest, brightest version of themselves.
Thank you a lot, Claire, for the 32, 33 minutes of really insightful conversation. And I really enjoyed the conversation with you and the tips that you shared with us. And looking forward for the future, let's say, collaboration and future conversation. And I'm really grateful for your contribution with race. So thank you a lot, and thank you for the audience for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.